When Horizon Zero Dawn launched on the PC in late 2020, it was met with huge disappointment because it launched in a really badly optimized state. Tons of performance issues, loads of problems, but thankfully though, in the couple of months since launch, I can say that most of those issues have been patched and fixed. The game runs a lot smoother now, and it is an absolute joy to play and one I would highly recommend. Hi folks, Mark here bringing you my review of Horizon Zero Dawn, and if you'd like to see my entire playthrough of the game, just click on the link below. It's really hard to describe the story of Horizon Zero Dawn without giving away a load of spoilers, and the less you know about this game world, its history, lore and setting before you play it, the more you are going to love the story and the twists and turns and the revelations you discover as you go through it. So do yourself a favour folks and don't read up too much online about the story of this before you play it. But it's set in a world where humans live a primitive hunter-gatherer lifestyle, set in isolated villages, surrounded by wilderness filled with robots. But not just any robots, these are based on mammals, birds, reptiles, even some dinosaurs. But where do these robots come from? And why do humans live such a primitive lifestyle if there is all this technology roaming around? And what is going on in this world? You play as Aloy, a fiery young lady with something to prove to the world as she was outcast from a tribe at birth. Why? We don't yet know. That's going to be for you to discover. Fortunately though, she was brought up by a fellow outcast and schooled in the ways of Robin Hood and Assassin's Creed. Gameplay wise, it feels like a mixture of RPG and adventure, with a great big open world to explore and absolutely filled with side quests and secondary characters, plus of course the main story to progress as and when you feel like it. And anyone who's played one of the more recent Assassin's Creed games will feel right at home here, as there is quite a bit of stealth involved with Aloy having to sneak up on a lot of the creatures and robots, and other humans as well. There's some humans gone bad in this too, which you're going to have to deal with. While there is some melee combat, most of the fighting is done with your trusty bow and arrow, or one of them. There are various models that you can find and purchase throughout the game and upgrade however you see fit. They all have different attributes and different damage types and different abilities, as well as traps you can put down, tripwires, and various bombs you can find and craft. And I'm quite happy to say that there isn't one particular weapon that is just the go-to. It's all down to personal preference. You can tailor Aloy's playstyle to whatever you prefer and enjoy doing, whether that being close range, blow stuff up, long range, snipe them off, or set down loads of traps and entice the enemies into a death zone. Crafting and upgrading your gear is quite a big part of the game too, as well as climbing and exploring. And now let's talk about the graphics and sound, and I can say that they are just spectacular, especially the visuals. They are absolutely gorgeous. This is one of the prettiest big open worlds I have ever played in, and I'm comparing this to things like Red Dead Redemption 2, which was equally impressive. But there are some absolutely gorgeous vistas that you can look out from on atop mountains and up hillsides, and the sun seems to move and the shadows respond really well. It just looks fantastic. But not just the world, there are loads of cutscenes with close-up animations of the characters and the detail of the models. It just looks really nice. Sound is equally great as well, with some just beautiful outdoor world noises and ambience, as well as some amazing voice acting in this, which just sounds great.
His name is Olin? Who is he? And where did he get one of these?
He's just a scrounger with friends in high places. He spends half his time digging for artifacts, the other half drinking or dicing.
All good so far then, and now on to my likes and dislikes. I've already talked about the visuals and the voices, which were fantastic. Let's talk about the gameplay and the combat in particular. I really enjoyed this, a lot more than I was expecting to. I should say though that I was playing with a mouse and keyboard, which made aiming much easier than a controller, as you're going to be spending a lot of time trying to aim that bow and arrow. Yes, aiming is really important in this because the robotic creatures that you're going to be taking on all have various weak spots. Well, not just weak spots, different areas on their person or body that you can shoot to get different effects depending on the type of weapon that you are using. In fact, the combat is a lot more in-depth than you think. It's not just a case of, oh yeah, I'll just aim for the head, do double damage and just one-shot the guy. Doesn't work like that. Well, it does fighting humans, but not against the robots. They've all got various weaknesses or weak spots on their body, or a bit of machinery that's stuck on, like a canister of blaze stuck on their backs, which if you shoot that with a fire arrow, it's going to catch fire, blow up, cause a big explosion. But the weak spots might be under the belly, on the end of the tail, might be behind a gun. Yeah, you can shoot some of the guns off. Some of the bigger creatures, you can shoot the guns off, pick them up and shoot them back with it. It's really, really good, and it's in depth. And there's the various resistances of the creatures and targets you have to kill as well, which correspond to the type of weapons that you might want to use on them. All in all, it takes a lot more thought than just sneaking up and trying to assassinate things or shoot them in the head. And I really like it. It gives you a lot of stuff to really think about and plan forward for and work on. It requires a little bit of skill, a little bit of knowledge, but the game does help you in all this, as you can scan these things through a little gadget that you found, and you've got a little encyclopedia of creatures which will tell you the weak spots and what weapons are weak to. And it's all really good. I also enjoyed laying down loads of traps. Now, I didn't do this for any old robot you find, but you'll do this for things like big bosses, normally after the first time they stomp your ass into the ground and you get an idea of how they're going to attack. So when you come back in for the second go, you lay an absolute death gauntlet of traps for them to run through as they come towards you, knowing where they're going to go. I find that absolutely hilarious. Really loved it. Overall, the combat in this was fantastic. Secondly, the character that you play, Aloy, I really liked her. I think her part was really well written for this. She's a strong character, she knows her own mind, and what is also good that there isn't just any arbitrary love interest thrown in the game to sort of fill out the story. It's not about that, and I just really like the way this was written. Speaking of the story, there are some amazing twists that I didn't see coming. You get an idea of where it's going in the sort of first third. That's expanded more in the second third. But in the last part, there were some things thrown at me that I didn't see coming, didn't expect, and I really enjoyed. I think it's actually a very good story, this one. And seriously, the less you know about it before you go into the game, the more you're going to get shocked and surprised, and you get those ooh moments as something comes at you that you maybe didn't expect. And that's, I think, the best way to play it, like I did. I talked about the weapons in the combat section, but the weapons and armor that you get in the game, there's not a huge amount of weapons, but they are upgradable quite a bit. And it's quite a simple upgrade process as well. You find weapon mods that will fit in, and armor mods, which will obviously go in armor, and you can customize them to just exactly what you want to do. Suppose you have a bow that does shock, freeze, and something else damage. Well, if you don't like one of those elements, one of the attacks, well, you mod it with one of the other ones that you do like. And this is the great thing. You can customize it completely to your playstyle. There's such a nice wide variety of weapons and traps, and how you want to play is going to be the best way to play. It's not like you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to follow the guides on Reddit or wherever. You just do what you want and enjoy, and that I really like about the game. Let's talk about the world as well, because I think this is actually really well done. And again, there's some surprising things in it, which I won't spoil for you here. But it's absolutely massive. There's loads to explore, loads to see and do. And for those completionists out there, there are loads of collectibles. You know, you get a set of this and a set of that, and it's going to take you around the world to find all these bits. But the game does it in such a way that it introduces you to new areas and new things to see and do, which you maybe wouldn't otherwise go there for. So it does sort of lead you by the hand a bit and point you where to go. The good thing is, if you're not really into collecting all these sets, because most of it you don't need, and it doesn't offer any great value other than explaining some of the lore and history in the game, you don't need to do it. So you've got that option. I'm not a great collector of these things, but I know some people are, and it's all there if you want it. Now, there were a few things about the game which I didn't like quite as much, so I'm going to list them here. There's nothing absolutely major, though. I've mentioned the problems that it had at launch. They all seem to be fixed, at least they were for me. In the game, I mentioned there's a lot of crafting. Yep, well, there's an awful lot of gathering the materials as well. In fact, a little bit too much. I think they've got the balance wrong between the amount of materials you need to craft or to heal yourself or whatever, and the amount that you can pick up. Because I felt like I was picking something up every 5 seconds in the game. I couldn't run 20 meters in one direction without running into a plant or some other material that I would need for crafting. And you do need to pick these things up, especially the healing ones. It would have been better if there were fewer of them, more spaced out, but when you pick something up, you got more of that resource. Because as it is, you want to run from A to B for a quest, it feels like it takes forever, because I can't run past stuff in games that I know I'm going to need without picking it up. You do have a maximum amount of stuff you can pick up. Again, that's something you can upgrade through crafting. But I mean, all the time you're stopping to pick stuff up, and I feel like it slows the pace of the game. I also thought some of the supporting characters in the game weren't particularly strong. There's one or two that you're going to really like, and maybe one or two that you'll really dislike. But the majority of them, they're just okay. They're just there to advance the story and advance the plot. And I didn't really build any sort of attachment or bonds with any of them, or think, wow, that's a good story on that guy or girl. And that's kind of a little bit weaker characters in this. Also, the conversations that you'll have with them feels kind of on rails. There's lots of options in a conversation. Well, no, let me say that again. There are a lot of parts of the conversation you can expand upon, but you don't get to make any options. I think there's only about 2 choices in the game where you can choose an A or a B and it makes a difference. The rest of it is just something you go through. And very soon in the conversations, when you're getting a quest from someone, you realize that you say hello to them, and then all the other conversation options there just kind of fill out background or something, stuff you don't need to know. So I got quite tired of that quickly, and I just went from the say hello bit to the I'll take the quest and go bit. And when you do that bit, it actually tells you anything you need to know for the quest. So you don't need to go through the wheel of conversations. I thought that bit could have been done better, and I would have liked to have seen more player options where you chose something and it made a difference to the game. But it was kind of just, a lot of the conversation was in there just for filler, and I soon realised that and ended up skipping bits of it. And who knows, I might have skipped something that was important in that, but that's what I found with the game, and hey, I went with it. And on a very much related note, there are loads of lore and background items in this game, which is great for those people who want to find out more about the history of the world and the lore and what went on. And I don't mind that there are so many things in, but the trouble is, some of them are just in there simply as filler, and some are actually quite important to the story. And you won't always know which is which. And it led to situations where, I'm going to give you an example here. There are a load of voice recordings in some tech that you can find in various places. And it'll be like a diary insert. And you'll be learning about what happened at some point or what happened to this character. And some of those are absolutely boring as hell. And it'll be someone complaining that they're having a bad day and they're late for an appointment. And you listen to it for like 40 or 45 seconds. You know, what? That didn't add anything to me whatsoever. And some others will be absolutely crucial to the plot storyline. But you end up listening to loads that are I found absolutely dull. You might not, but I did. And then I thought, do you know what? I don't have time for this. I've got to save the tribe. I've got to save the world. I don't want to know that someone's coffee wasn't delivered on time and it ruined their morning. So I ended up skipping loads of those. I think I got all the crucial ones, but again, I don't always know. It'd have been better if it was maybe a bit more obvious. Like, you know, you find the books in Morrowind or Oblivion, you can read them if you want, but you don't have to. But these are all very minor points because the game overall is absolutely fantastic, and I loved it, and it was a real surprise to me because I didn't expect to enjoy it quite as much as I did. I hear there's also a sequel in the offing and not that far away, so I will definitely be playing that too. Overall, folks, I would rate this a solid 9 out of 10. It really was that good. I really did love it, and I would happily play through it again. So, highly recommended. I hope you guys enjoy it too. Let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. And if you do want to check out my playthrough, there's a link for that there too.